Hey, how's it going, you guys? This is Tyler again. I just got certified as a Terraform associate. I passed my certification exam this weekend. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through how to push infrastructure to AWS using Terraform. I'm going to do the same web app that I created in an earlier video series. It's a two-tier web app. It's going to have your auto scaling group, load balancer. You're going to have EC2 instances and a DynamoDB backend. And I'm going to push this all out using Terraform. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we want to do is open up VS Code. Um, so in this video series, I am assuming that you have already downloaded Terraform and installed it. You can do this by going to the website, Terraform website. Um, so we're going to start here with the Terraform version command just to confirm it's installed. It is installed. This is the project I was using to test, so I'm going to create a new directory. Let's do new project. So I'm making this new directory. Now I'm going to open that directory so we can start our project. Okay, so now we're in the new directory. Yes, I trust the author. I'm going to create a new file. This is going to be my main.tf. In this video series, I'm only going to have one main TF because it's a relatively small Terraform deployment. For larger deployments, you'll have main TF, providers TF, variables TF, output TF. For this, I'm putting it all in the same. So now that we have the main TF created, I'm going to open up my terminal. So I'm on Windows, but I'm using Bash. It's a plugin for VS Code that you can get. I highly recommend it. I prefer Bash command line to PowerShell, at least when I'm writing code or pushing out Terraform. So here is a copy of my code, my Terraform code. I'm gonna paste that in here and then I'll walk you through exactly what it does. So starting here at the top, we have our provider block. This tells us that we're pushing out to AWS. We're pushing out to the US East 1 region. Okay, going a little bit further, we have some of our resources. We have a networking resource block here with our VPC, have our internet gateway, our subnets, two public subnets, routing table, routes. We have our security groups. And if you notice here with the resource block, we'll have VPC ID that's populating from the VPC we created up here using variables like VPC ID. Using variables like that makes your code more dynamic, and it's honestly the only way I could recommend doing it because you're not going to really know these values. You're not going to know this value until after the Terraform has created it. So using variables like that makes things a lot easier. And we have another security group. We have our Dynamo database. And if you have any questions on how you can create resource blocks like this, I'm going to post a link for the Terraform registry where it has a lot of information on providers, how to set up different things. So we have our launch templates, our auto scaling group, our AMI. One thing I do want to point out here, this is not a resource block. So this is, you can tell what the block is by the first word here. So you have data or resource. The data block is just used to pull down data. So in this case, it's pulling down the name of an AMI image that we can use in our EC2 instance. Okay, and here in our resource, our launch template, this is really important right here. The user data. If you remember from my last video series, we added user data, which installs a web server and displays a hello world. We're using something similar to that. It will say hello world from Terraform app. We'll be able to see that once we push out the changes. Auto scaling group, load balancer, all of the same things we used in our first project. And we have our output. Output block, very important here. This is going to display our DNS name to the console so that we can access our web server after it's done. So the first thing I'm going to do here is a Terraform init. This will initialize the provider. It will pull down those provider information. I should also explain while this is going, I added some environment variables and I set up an AWS account prior to this. So prior to this, in order to use Terraform, I set up an AWS account that has full admin access and I created an access key for it with a secret ID. So once you get the access key secret ID, you have to set those as environment variables. And I have the commands here for that. So in your Linux console, apologies, that's not the correct command. In your Linux console, you'll run these commands: export AWS underscore access underscore key underscore ID and secret access key. And you'll do that so that you can get access to your accounts on AWS and authenticate. Otherwise, Terraform doesn't know which way you're supposed to, or which provider you're connecting to, or I'm sorry, which account you're connecting to. Okay, so our init is done. So as you can see, this has been created here, Terraform folder with our provider information. So now I'm going to run a Terraform plan. And again, I would show you the export those environment variables for authentication, but that's I've been working I've I've set those environment variables a while ago. So we have our Terraform plan. So the Terraform plan, it just outlines a plan of what's going to be provisioned. As you can see, plan, so 16 different resources we're planning to add. And if you go up here, it shows you everything that we're adding. We're adding a subnet, security group. Highly recommend using the plan before they apply. That way you'll be able to see if it's destroying anything as well. So I'm going to go ahead and run the Terraform apply. It will ask me if I'm sure, and I'm going to put in yes. Another thing worthy of note, once we ran the Terraform plan, it created this Terraform state file, the terraform.tf state. So here it's asking me, do you want to perform these actions? Error value, yes. The Terraform TF state file, it's a very important file. It keeps track of all the resources that Terraform is managing. Once you run a plan command, it puts all those resources into state. And then once you push them out, I think actually once you do a Terraform apply, it puts everything into state. So if I do a Terraform apply, I push everything out, and then I come back, I change the code, remove a resource block, anything like that. The next time I run a Terraform apply, it will delete that resource. So the TF state is very important as it keeps track of what has been created, what has not been created. And it's also important to know that if you create something in Terraform and it's in state and you remove that block of code for the resource from your code, it removes that resource. We do have there are commands where you can remove certain items from state. I'm not going into that in this video, but just know they're there. So I'm going to put this video on hold while this is provisioning, as the provisioning process, especially for load balancers, takes a while. So give me 1 second. Okay, perfect. So my provisioning is done. Everything has been pushed out to AWS. I have my output here, which gives us the DNS name. I'm going to copy this and put it into my browser. Let's see here. And this should bring up our Hello World. And there we go. Hello World from Terraform app. Everything has been pushed out and we are good to go. So now I don't want to keep this configuration, be charged for it. So I'm going to run a Terraform destroy. This will destroy everything that is being managed, everything that we just pushed out, it will destroy. It will also ask me for yes, but yeah, that's the power of Terraform. You can push out a whole web app. I think that took 5 minutes after doing the init, plan, apply. It took around 4 or 5 minutes just to create the load balancer, but after that it was pushed out. So here we go. We're destroying everything now and removing it. So that's this video pushing out a web app. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day.